Bora, Bora. So Magala, I just saw a video of Tebe performing, and I was like, damn, that man has staying power, hey? Bona Tebe Gilinyora. Blind. Just boya mampela mfan. He's still alive, he's still doing his stuff. And just going through my timeline on one of my socials, and I saw his video dancing and doing his thing, and I was like, Diman gila para straight. But anyway, good morning. Thank you very much for waking up this morning. It's a Friday, and it is the 2nd of June. It's actually posthumously my late sister's birthday. First born Yako High, we lost her, I think about 6 years ago. And, one of the lived experiences for me is that I had to be the bearer of bad news, telling my family that our sister, passed away about 6 years ago. I was the one, and I've never, really talked about this, but for me now, it's very easy to talk about death, because there's a certain understanding now that I have about death. So I was the one who found her in her home, peacefully sleeping, and we had to do, the deed of, removing her remains, and calling the mortuary and all of those things. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say it's not a good experience, but for me it was a humbling experience. And there's a lot that I learned through that experience of finding a person in deep in the internal sleep, and having to do everything that follows after that. Yeah. Hey, yeah. Life and death, man. Hey, yeah. Joy and pain is like sunshine and rain, if you get it. All right. But it should be easy for anyone to have, a conversation moving from happiness to sadness, and you know what I mean. I think that shows balance, But there's a couple of things I'd like to say this morning. Number one, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who reached out when I posted the video yesterday about the Broadcasting 101 class that I'd love to have with some of your learners if you're an educator. And quite a number of you came through and hit my DMs, hard and fast. I really do appreciate it. And I very much even appreciate my former teachers who are still educators to this day, man. These people are legends, man. And some of them hit me up and they said, look, come to my school. Even former schoolmates, in fact, some who are educators hit me up. So there was quite a lot of feedback that I got, which I highly and humbly appreciate. It is really deeply humbling to know that there are people who are just willing to have you give of yourself, to do what I'm passionate about, really, because teaching is very close to my heart. And even if I am not, I don't have a qualification for teaching, but I do, and I am qualified to teach about broadcasting, something that I've been doing this year, believe it or not, for 20 years. Yep, it's going to be 20 years in broadcasting for me. I think it's even more than that, because I started actually being on radio as a guest on a talk show, Kusosha Nguve Community Radio, when I was still in high school, and I was like 16 or something like that. So yeah, the radio bug bit me a very long time ago, and it has stayed, for years, clearly. And this year is 20 years in broadcasting. And really, my story is not like, other people's story, and it doesn't have to be, And according to me, I'm actually not where I really want to be, but I definitely know that I will get there. Time and my work will speak for itself, and I don't need celebrity or anything, because akiborati in any case, you know what I mean? Because I don't like to feel nagi much more important than other people in any case. And I know that that's how some people take me, that's how some people perceive me, but I really, really don't like that celebrity life. I love my life normal, kilishapu, doing what I love, which is broadcasting. So thank you very much to everybody who reached out, to everybody who sent me a DM, to everybody who said, hey, come through, man, to everybody who gave me words of encouragement. Listen, it's not something that, I just decided on a whim. Like I said, I did it last year. I did it at a couple of schools, not so broad and not so broadcast to everyone on my socials. But I had the opportunity and I saw the only thing that youngins in their lives, or one of the things that youngins need in their lives, is constant communication of opportunities. All right. So whether you are in finance or you are doing something else very different, sports management, whatever the case may be, if you can give of yourself and you can give time of yourself to go and talk to young people anywhere, at a school near you, please do it. Because one of the biggest things is that I want to adopt, high schools around my hood, right? So there's a couple of high schools that are there. There's a number of them. In fact, Kososha, there's a lot of high schools, that I can go to and talk about broadcasting and even talk about other things, because I'm also a cyclist, and I'm also a certified tennis coach. There's a lot of things that I do, and there's a lot of things I can talk about just to give information. But I thought also even expanding it would be through maybe, a couple of seminars on weekends and stuff like that. And that's something that, of course, I will expand on, with my team, with my little team. And we will expand on to see how we can better do it. But this is an individual thing that I'm doing myself, to give information, constant information about opportunities that are available when it comes to broadcasting. So I'd like to thank everybody who reached out, everybody, who gave words of encouragement, the love, and the recognition that, we definitely need things like this to give of our time, to give of ourselves, people who have been in the industry, who have years in the industry. Like I said, 20 years, it's not child's play. I've stayed in this industry, and I can tell you safely so that about 12 years of those 20, I wasn't getting paid. It's a story for another day. I wasn't getting paid. It was all passion. It was all love. I was getting paid through other things that I was doing outside of, being on community radio. Even when I started, because I started producing Ko Radio Pop, all right, just a year before it got closed. And then I went to community radio stations, all right, 2 of them, which was TUT-FM, which was then TNG-FM. And then, funny enough, I've worked for 2 campus community radio stations which change names, right, in my tenure being there. So, for instance, when I was with TNG-FM, it was TNG-FM, and then later on it changed to TUT-FM. I think after I moved, it then changed to TUT-FM a year later or so. And then I went to TUT Top Stereo. And then TUT Top Stereo changed its name to Tshwane FM. Something, very interesting. But anyway, so yeah, that's what I would like to thank everybody for. And the journey in radio has been long. And one day I will say it in another separate video to tell you the story and some of the things that I've learned through me being, in the broadcasting industry and just enjoying all the lessons throughout the years, and actually, learning the very intricate things that has made me the broadcaster that I am. Now, I say it all the time that being a broadcaster is not being a broadcaster, being on radio, television, broadcasting online, in podcasts and stuff like that, being a celebrity. It's not about that. It's actually being a good communicator. Have you observed that throughout what I've just said. All that there was me talking, taking pauses, making sure that I pronounce words correctly, I enunciate, and I think. While I'm speaking, I'm thinking, I'm manifesting, I'm thinking, and in a way that you can basically understand me. You can understand me in the most easiest way, right? So the message has to come across really well, and the content is what's important, right? So in this instance, the content is thank you. Thank you to everybody who has reached out. And you can tell even more people. You can download the video that I posted yesterday. There was a very short one that I did, and I decided to just share it amongst a lot of people, right? And individuals and stuff like that, so that they can share it with whoever out there. 30 seconds, I just put the message across, and then I sent it. And that video for me, is actually the video that a lot of people then said, you know what, hey, get in contact with this guy, and people, put it out there. And I'm really grateful for that. All right. But apart from that, I'm really grateful for life, for waking up, for seeing another day. I'm here. Now, this week, I've been waking up. This is the second thing now. I've been waking up, and I have sort of like revived, because on two of the radio stations that I was on, the two campus community radio stations that I was on, I did all major shows, right? Like I said, 12 years I was doing radio for free, right? I wasn't getting paid go Tshwane FM, go TUT FM, but I did breakfast radio. For me, that was the best radio. For me, breakfast radio was the best, because yo guys, bona, whether you're a morning person or not, waking up in the morning and accomplishing things in the morning is the best thing. Whether it's cold, doesn't matter the season, all right? Waking up in the morning and actually, going to do what you're supposed to do very early in the morning is the best thing. And I remember I used to enjoy my breakfast show on Tshwane FM, because that's really where I think I got the gist of radio, and I got to work on myself a lot, right? So at Tshwane FM, I did a breakfast show. I remember Tebogo Makubane, who's now the station manager of Umgana Lonene, right? Was the guy who was doing the breakfast show before I came on, to do the breakfast show at Tshwane FM, because I started doing the 3 to 6 when I got to Tshwane FM. It didn't last long, me doing 3 to 6, because I was co-presenting with the late Jack Frost, a guy called Songo Jack Frost, man. Unfortunately passed away in a tragic accident. But in any case, then I went on to do other things when I started Tshwane FM, after doing, I think I did a 6-month stint, because I was actually at TUT. I was doing a course called Versatile Broadcasting, right? So, and then I did some things in the background. While I was doing things in the background, then I kick-started the bootcamp, because Tshwane FM, let me tell you what happened. Another, person from Tshwane FM who passed away is the station manager, Jeremy Thorpe. He actually passed away a couple of years ago. So what Jeremy would do at the radio station was unbelievable. I mean, it was a crime to the youngins who were working in the radio station, because Jeremy, each and every maybe 6 months or so, he would do auditions for young people who are, TUT students. But then there wouldn't be any training for those people. So it would just be throwing young people who don't know anything about broadcasting, and he would just throw them in the deep end. And that's where I came in, and I saw an opportunity. And I said to him, look, this can't happen. You really can't just take people and then put them on different shows. Yes, it's a campus community radio station, but these youngins need to know what radio is all about, right? And then I said, let me start a boot camp. Let me kickstart a boot camp with some of the guys who have been a part of this radio station, because I think at that time it was then 20 FM, right? And no, even before it was I started that when it was still TUT Top Stereo. And I said, let me start it with guys that I think have a very great idea of what radio broadcasting is, and let me start it with them, and let's do a boot camp, a 2-week boot camp. And he didn't want to have any of it. And I was like, how does this radio thing work, And then he said, no, maybe you can do it for a week. Just take a week, of it and do it. But then, I didn't listen to him. I said, I'm not going to listen to this man. I'm going to do it for 2 weeks, because I'm taking everything that one needs to know about radio, compressing it into 2 weeks. I'm taking probably 3 months of training and putting it into 2 weeks. That's a lot of information for someone to grasp within 2 weeks, right? But I eventually had a formula, and my formula was simple: to teach people how to do radio and how to be on radio and what is important when it comes to radio. There are 3 things that are very important in radio. Number 1, all right? And the last thing is a very important thing. The very last thing is a very important thing. There are 3 things that are important in radio. Number 1 is the presenter. Number 2 is what you are broadcasting. Content is king. Number 3 is the listener. And the content, you will then know the impact of the content by the feedback of the listener. If the listener has feedback, whether positive or negative, you've got something. If the listener doesn't have feedback, you have to be a bit worried. Okay? Yeah. Because sometimes it happens that there is no feedback from listeners. But those are, for me, the most key things when it comes to radio. So it's it's the content, it's basically the product that you're selling, and then it's the listener. Now, why is the listener much more important than these 2? The listener is important because the listener, all right, the listener is the one who will validate whether your content is good or bad. Hence, I talked about the positive or negative that comes from the listener, right? So, whether you have good or negative feedback, they say, publicity is publicity. Good or bad, it is publicity. And that's how radio works. Trust you me. This is a formula that I came up with, Nanji, all through the years of radio. But content is also important, because what you put out there can be rubbish. It can be grasping at straws. It can be thumb sucking. It can be, you're going into the radio station and just, doing radio off of, a whim, and you just, coming up with stuff. That's why even today when I listen to some people on radio, I think, dude, did you prepare anything that you've just said? You've just had a link for 3 minutes and you said nothing, not even, you didn't even capture a person, with your link about anything, you know what I mean? There was no hook. There was and some people also, and I'll talk about other things when it comes to the flair of radio and stuff like that. There's quite a lot that, a person can learn about radio. And in this instance, I'm talking about radio specifically, right? TV and other, ways of broadcasting is different things, but I'm talking about radio. But then why is this other thing, the first thing that I mentioned, also there and also important? Because you need to develop the skill. The person who's going to be broadcasting need to develop the skill of broadcasting so that they can broadcast good, great, fantastic, super content to this person, this last person who is important, right? So you can broadcast however you want to broadcast. You can literally broadcast to no one. But I'm definitely sure that there are people who are going to follow you because of the content that you've got. Bomac G, for instance, on their podcast, a lot of people follow them for the content that they have, the kind of content that they give to people, which has to do with celebrities, well-known people, and all of that, right? And they present it in such a casual way. But you have to understand that radio is different. There are set rules, there are basics, there's just simple radio 101, right? You cannot come back, or back announce and not include your station ID. If it's a daytime show, not include the time, because when it's daytime, radio is like a companion to people, to listeners, to the very people that you're broadcasting to. So they need to know what time it is, because somehow everything that they do revolves around, listening to you and being conscious of the time, right? And other things that you're going to put maybe in your link. Now, a link for you, for a person who doesn't know, is the time that somebody takes on air, right? So when they open their mics and they start saying, Vodacom radio, whatever, that portion of saying something is a link. That should be said within a set time, depending on the content of what you want to say, the message that you want to put across. I totally hate it. There are things that I loathe. There are pet peeves that I have when it comes to people doing their links, and I'll elaborate on these in probably a separate video. But for me, that's how radio works. And when Jeremy Thorpe didn't want, for us to take at least 2 weeks or even a month, because I remember, I think I said to him a month, and he said, nah, that's too long. I said, but you're going to take months, at least about 3 months of training, and compress it to a month. And now I have to compress it to 2 weeks, right? Because I wanted these guys to come each and every day. Let's spend about 2 hours and let me teach you different aspects of radio. But the three, for me, the very most important things were these. Were them having skill? That's number one, very important. Number two, if they have the skill, what is the content? How do you, because also the content, getting the content is a skill in itself. But you have to realize that everything around you is content. You can literally talk about everything and anything, and you can literally make anything content around you. And that's also what I usually taught them. This last thing is very important because it is to the listener. So you're selling, and the product is radio, get airtime. Any radio station that takes itself seriously has to know it doesn't matter. You can have the best talent, but the worst content. You can be a far-reaching radio station, being a national radio station, broadcasting to a whole big demographic of people in various geographical locations. If your content is whack, you're not going to have an effect on anyone. If you're not relatable, this person, you're not relatable, and your content is not relatable, it's not going to help you. Hey? Or go community radio stationing. You're doing a 3 to 6. Community radio station, go townshipping. Maro wula like a swimming pool. You get what I'm saying? So your content is out of touch. So you have to know what are the most important things that you can talk about when you're on radio. So those for me were the three most important pillars of, the whole broadcasting spectrum, right? So you, the person, you have to get the skill, the content, what you're going to put out there, because it's very important. It's the product that you're going to sell. Now, it also what you're going to sell to this very important person depends on the talent that you have. All right? Depends on a lot of things. So the talent that you have is very important. Okay? The talent must equip themselves with skills on how to do this thing right. I can tell you right now that even in commercial radio, the highest level of broadcasting, which is commercial radio in the country, we have some of the worst presenters. And by some miracle, people think that's the best. Well, not according to broadcasting standards, my friend. That one, no. And, I'm not going to mention any names in any case, but I can tell you, had that talent in itself groomed itself, immersed itself into honing the skill of broadcasting and learning a few things to make sure that the content is put out there in a, radio-friendly way, for lack of better words, then you would have quite a compelling radio station. Now, I know a lot of people say, radio is dead, all of that. Hey, listen, the one thing that I've known about radio is that, hey, it's a chameleon, Joe. Hey, it's a chameleon. It's been there and it will still be there. I'm not going to say it's not going to die because clearly people want to kill it, but hey, radio has been a chameleon. It's been there. It's been doing its thing. All right. And it is because of radio that some of us have jobs, have, a career, a passion for what we do. But like I said, broadcasting, radio in itself, it's not just about being on radio and being the voice that people know, being a celebrity or on television broadcasting or podcasts or stuff like that. It's actually about being a good communicator, communicating really well. Throughout this communication, me with you, if you observed really well, I didn't have the ums and the and the like those things are some of my pet peeves. So I'd rather pause. I'd rather think. I'd rather keep a bit of silence, right? So that I can breathe correctly, I can think correctly, and then I can tell you correctly when it comes to the content of what I'm talking about. And that's how broadcasting is for me. Now, it might also be personal, but that's what I'm saying. Broadcasting in itself actually teaches you how to be a good communicator. Because I think everyone in all of our lifetimes, there will come a point in time when you have to face a crowd, when you have to speak in front of people, whether you like it or not sometimes, because it might be at a funeral that you have to speak. It might be at a wedding that you have to speak, about your friend, about a family, whatever the case may be. So communication is key when it comes to making sure that you put your message across fluently and also articulate your message brilliantly, right? So it's highly important. And that's what broadcasting is in a nutshell. All right. There's loads of other factors that I can include, but for now, I'll end it here and, get the opportunity of teaching young people about broadcasting and the many, many careers that are there within broadcasting. It's not just about being on air, being on television or a celebrity. No, it's also just about being a very good communicator. And you know where being a very good communicator actually will work for you? Is when they have called you and say, come for a job. And then you have to communicate with about 5 or 6 people in a room and tell them, or even sometimes one person in a room. In fact, one person can be much more intimidating than 6 people, right? Because I'm much more excited to have a couple of other people in the room than have maybe 2 people or one person, right? So I'm much more comfortable with having a couple of people in the room and actually communicating, because there's different thoughts, there's different mindsets in the room at the same time, and then I can communicate with all of them because I see different people, I have different ideas, and then I talk to them. So also, it's important for you one day when they say come for that job interview, So broadcasting is not just about being on radio or television or broadcasting online. It's also about you getting into a room one day when you're looking for a job and you can articulate yourself better to tell people about yourself when they ask a question. So tell us about yourself. What are you going to say? Imagine that's the only question they ask you at a job interview. And then about myself, that time you don't have any hobbies, bunzima, it's hard at that time. So you need to understand that communication, every single one of us, we do it every day. We communicate with people at the shops, everywhere. Communication is everywhere. You communicate with signs on the road while you're driving, when you use public transport. You communicate with somebody to ask them, where's this taxi going? You communicate online, whatever the case may be. But that's how it is, and that's how it's supposed to be for you to be a good communicator. So look at it in that broader sense, that it's not just about being on radio. Specifically, for me, that's what I'm going to teach, and that's what I want to teach youngins, right? But also, the most important is that it's for you to be a good and great, fantastic communicator. And I'll leave it at that, all right? I think I'll do some more videos while I'm, inside the studio there. There's 10 minutes before I go on air. So thank you very much. And I really wish you all the best today and forevermore, right? And thank you very much. Please follow me on all my socials. I am on Instagram. I am on Twitter. I am on Facebook. In fact, on Facebook, my Facebook page is Maverick Mpia on Air. All right. And please do hit that subscribe button on my YouTube. I'm also there. You can also follow me on TikTok, but I do funny videos on TikTok only. I've reserved my TikTok for just, funny stuff and all of that. But you can follow me there. I really do appreciate it. I'm looking like again, I'm wearing. There's a special thing I want to do today that I haven't done in quite a while. So that's why I'm looking a bit dapper, if I say so myself, today. But apart from that, though, enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Tomorrow I am definitely, tomorrow morning I'm definitely going to be on Power 98.7, bringing you some power grooves 2 to 6 a.m. in the wee hours of the morning, the ungodly hours as they call them. But funny enough, it's the time when people wake up and pray. That's a going joke for my show. But anyway, join me tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, between 2 to 6 a.m. And you can tune in via live stream also anywhere in the world, www.power987.co.za. It's been fantastic talking to you this morning, and I hope that you've enjoyed the video. And I'll post some more videos talking about different things. Like I said, check some of my videos out on YouTube, and I really do appreciate it. Shop.